if you're like me, your nerves are kind of rattled right now. I feel like I can't even open X because it's a deluge of panic, some concerns real, and a whole heck of a lot of fake bot traffic from foreigners pretending to be born and bred Americans with hot takes about whether or not Americans should go and lose their lives out in the sand again. It's painfully obvious that there is a huge operation on X to try and sway public opinion in both directions. It seems like there are individuals who are on the take on both sides of this. It's just very obvious to anyone who's paying attention, and I know my viewers are, but I'm calling for a little bit of trust in the Don right now. I understand why some people are concerned because, well, history is a thing. The USS Liberty is a thing. Iraq is a thing. But Donald Trump is also a man that has been extremely clear about his position, and it has not wavered. I see an unending number of people posting nonstop anonymous sources from Israeli TV or Israeli journalists saying that America's just seconds away from boots on the ground. Yet Donald Trump has said nothing about this. Donald Trump has continued to reiterate that he will be staying out of it, outside of selling them weapons, surely, and intel, but keeping American boots off the ground unless Iran attacks an American target. Now, people who are very concerned are saying, yeah, but Jeremy, don't you know they're just going to have a false flag? It's so obvious. And I guess I can't see the future like some of these people do. And I choose to try and live in what I know and where I know and, you know, and the things that I can see and confirm. And I just don't, I trust Donald Trump. I trust Donald Trump to stay out of this. I'm not going to panic. He's been exceedingly clear. Unless, you know, Iran has a direct offensive against American targets, he's not going to get involved. Look, if you want to throw your hands up and call me a fool, it's okay. I'm choosing to be optimistic, even though the hopium is at an all-time low. The thing is, Trump, I think, is content to just let Israel buy our weapons and take care of the problem. I don't know. To me, this situation seems so simple. I don't understand. I guess, monetization is a thing on X, but to me, it's clear what Trump's plan was from the beginning. Negotiate, and if they don't want to negotiate, let Israel do whatever Israel wants to do. And for a lot of people out there who are saying, yeah, but Trump's, the Americans are doing this or that. These are the same people that say Israel does whatever the heck they want whenever they want. So why would that be different now? It's my opinion that Trump is simply content to stay out of it, let Israel do whatever they want to do. He's called for a ceasefire last night. I don't know what people want him to do, condemn Israel for their behavior. Again, I don't care. Not my flag, not my war. Keep American troops out of it. I am totally content letting Israel take out Iran. I'm completely content with that. Keep the civilians at a minimum. And I just, to me, I'm oversimplifying it. I know, but I can only do that because X is full of people claiming to have endless anonymous sources. One saying, oh, we're going to have boots on the ground. The next one saying, oh, we're definitely not going to have boots on the ground. All I can look at is what Donald Trump has said specifically on camera and the fact that there are currently no known troops on the ground. JD Vance just tweeted this. I'm seeing this from the inside, and I'm admittedly biased towards our president and my friend, but there's a lot of crazy stuff on social media, so I wanted to address some things directly on the Iran issue. First, POTUS has been amazingly consistent over 10 years that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Over the last few months, he encouraged his foreign policy team to reach a deal with the Iranians, which we know is true, to accomplish this goal. The president had made it clear that Iran cannot have uranium enrichment, and he said repeatedly that this would happen one of two ways, either the easy way or the other way. Secondly, I've seen a lot of confusion over the civilian nuclear power and uranium enrichment. These are distinct issues. Iran could have civilian nuclear power without enrichment, but Iran rejected that. Meanwhile, they've enriched uranium far above level necessary for any civilian purpose. They've been found in violations of their non-proliferation obligations by the International Atomic Energy Agency, and which is hardly a right-wing organization. It's one thing to want civilian nuclear energy. It's another to demand sophisticated enrichment capacity, and it's still another to cling to enrichment while simultaneously violating basic non-proliferation obligations and enriching right to the point of weapons-grade uranium. Now, we could say, boy, this sounds familiar, WMDs. And I can't disprove that. I'm not here. I know people, they prefer to watch Tim on his political takes and this, that, and the other thing. But I'm here to try and be a calming voice, even if my thumbnails and headlines are spicy, because there is no value in doom scrolling Twitter and reading endless anonymous sources and thinking they're true just because they put the word breaking in front of it and a little red light. Okay. Do I believe that Iran was making nuclear weapons? I don't know. I mean, I've had American soldiers tell me that Iraq did have, chemical weapons and things of that nature, even though it's largely people saying, hey, that never happened. So I don't know. I think Iraq was a little more clear that we were lied to about the scale and the urgency of invading. The regime change nonsense, I don't think has literally ever worked out. But Iraq and Iran are very different. Iran used to be a pretty cool place back in the 70s. I've yet to see a good argument for why Iran needed to enrich uranium well above the threshold for civilian use. Meanwhile, the president has shown remarkable restraint in keeping our military's focus on protecting our troops and protecting our citizens. He may decide he needs to take further action to end Iran's enrichment. That decision ultimately belongs to the president. And of course, people are right to be worried about foreign entanglements after the last 25 years of idiotic foreign policy. But I believe the president has earned some trust on this issue. And having seen this up close and personal, I can assure you that he is only interested in using the American military to accomplish American people's goals. Whatever he does, that's his focus. And, this is probably the strongest statement yet. That second last paragraph is a little concerning, where he says, oh, he may decide to do more. But for the most part, this is a guy, who's in the middle of it all. And I'm choosing to trust Donald Trump. It's easy to think everybody's lying to you all the time. I get that. You never get hurt. You never get lied. You're always ahead of the curve. And maybe Trump is lying. But there's been one thing he's been pretty consistent on, and that's American boots on the ground. And, if this was, the immigration, which he flip-flopped on, and other things that he's flip-flopped on over the years, maybe. But with the one exception, the Syria thing back in his first term, he's been extremely consistent. Maybe consider people like DC Drano, who's on the take, and all these people, Posobiec, all these people who got invited to the White House to do their little, binder presentation, all the people that have maybe personally met with Netanyahu behind the scenes, maybe think that they might have other motives, whether it's just simply monetizing fear and panic, or it's because maybe they're getting narratives from other people. Nick Sorter writes, we learn from the U.S. doesn't have to be involved. Israel's got this too. The U.S. must help destroy Iran's nuclear program. Again, this is based on Twitter narrative. Donald Trump hasn't said that. There's all sorts of people that are constantly, there's one of these legendary fake troll reporters, the Suleiman Ahmed guy, who I think used to be monetized but ended up losing it. Again, breaking, Trump is expected to sign an executive order within the next few hours to formally join the war. Source, Israeli Channel 14. Nearly every source saying that America's just seconds away from boots on the ground is coming from Israel. Isn't it possible that they are trying to, run a pressure campaign to try and get the United States to get involved? All these people who have said Netanyahu is some sort of evil, piece of garbage, which he seems like he is, but suddenly he's not capable of doing this? All the same people who will tell you as a fact that, Jeffrey, Epstein worked for Mossad, suddenly are like, well, no, Mossad would never do this. Remember when the Kiwi Farms, like, IP information came out and, like, almost every account was from Israel? Like, are we just saying, oh, well, now Israel's not trying to run some kind of disinformation op? Now they must be telling the truth every time. I mean, I've seen peers of mine retweet this guy. This guy has first of all, you can't sign an executive order to go to war. Now, you can do stupid things like, Operation Desert Storm. If it's going to take less than 30 or 60 days, there is some precedent. But even in this replies, like, oh, America hasn't declared war since 1942. Wrong. Congress declared war for Iraq. I mean, this is like, X is so dangerous right now. I want people to be able to speak freely, but that's why I'm trying to use my platform to say, like, guys, Donald Trump, the Guardian, Donald Trump not seeking a ceasefire, but wants a real end to Iran's nuclear program. Iran has 100% of the control here. End the nuclear program. If Netanyahu continues to attack, well, then maybe I was right about him, right? I mean, maybe I was right about him. Isn't it possible that Netanyahu's just doing whatever the heck he wants to do? Isn't that possible? I genuinely think that Trump hates war. Yeah, he hasn't had the best luck ending this war in Ukraine, but it's not like he's fanning the flames. He's been pretty consistent. He hasn't put boots on the ground there, has he? I mean, this is, yes, we are sending assets over there, which makes me concerned for a potential false flag. But ultimately, Trump has been consistent on this. Now, there are Republican war hawks out there, and there always has been. But Trump is not Bush Jr. I just don't see it going that way. Maybe I'll be wrong, and I will definitely serve up a plate of delicious crow should Trump betray everything he's promised this country for the last 12 years. But I am choosing to believe and trust in the man rather than getting sucked in by the panic mongering by Pakistani bot farms on X. I hope you were informed by this video. I hope it provided some entertainment value. And if it did, please do leave a like on it. If you haven't yet, please subscribe or follow down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.